You have spent so long trying to earn love that you forgot you already are it. You gave and gave and gave until there was nothing left for yourself. You've tried to fix everyone else's wounds while ignoring your own. But today, my dear, is different. Today, you turn that love inward. For years, you measured your worth by how much you could do, how perfectly you could please, how well you could hide the ache inside. But perfection was never the assignment. Presence was. Compassion was. Life never asked you to become smaller to be loved. It asked you to remember that you already are love itself. When you stand before the mirror, you see every flaw you've rehearsed for years. You whisper, "I'll love myself when I'm thinner, calmer, more successful." But love does not wait for conditions. It creates them. The moment you approve of yourself exactly as you are, healing begins. Every thought we think creates our future. So imagine what might happen if your thoughts finally spoke kindness. I am worthy now. I am beautiful now. I am enough now. Say it until your body relaxes. Say it until the old beliefs grow tired and leave. Self-love is not vanity. It is sanity. It's the moment you stop apologizing for existing. It's choosing the clothes that make you feel radiant, the food that makes your body sing, the silence that lets your heart breathe. It's refusing to abandon yourself ever again. You will notice, as you begin to love yourself, how peace quietly replaces anxiety. The mirror softens, the inner critic fades. You'll catch yourself smiling for no reason, standing taller, speaking gently. That glow you see, it isn't makeup or magic. It's self-approval made visible. The world reflects what you believe about you. When you feel unworthy, people confirm it. When you feel enough, life mirrors it back. The universe always says yes to your dominant thought. So decide today that your thought will be love. Life will have no choice but to echo it. Put your hand on your heart and whisper, I choose to love myself completely. Feel the warmth rise beneath your palm. That is energy shifting. That is every cell responding. Your body has waited years for this permission to relax, to bloom, to trust you again. Perhaps you fear that focusing on yourself is selfish, but selfishness and self-honoring are not the same. You cannot pour from an empty cup. When you fill your own, others drink from your overflow. The more you love yourself, the more love you bring into every room. Start small. One kind word to yourself in the morning, one moment of gratitude before sleep, one boundary where there used to be guilt. Healing does not require grand gestures. It requires daily gentleness. Every time you choose peace over punishment, love deepens. There will be days when the old voice returns, the one that says you're not enough. Smile at it. It's just an echo. It cannot survive new truth. Keep repeating your affirmations until they become automatic. I approve of myself. I am whole and complete. I am loved exactly as I am. Your transformation will not happen in one miracle moment. It will unfold quietly, like dawn spreading across your life. People will ask, what changed? You will smile and say, I started being kind to myself. And that kindness will become your power. Remember, your worth does not depend on productivity, appearance, or approval. It comes from the breath moving through you, the same life that beats your heart, grows the trees, and turns the stars. How could that infinite intelligence create you by mistake? Each morning, look in the mirror and say, good morning, I love you. Today, I choose peace. Some days you will believe it easily, others you will not. Say it anyway. Repetition rewires belief. The universe listens to consistency, not perfection. You will notice new strength rising, the quiet kind that no longer begs for validation. You'll start saying no without guilt, yes without fear, and silence will no longer feel lonely. That is what unstoppable feels like. Calm inside, glowing outside. Self-love is your birthright. It's not something you have to earn through achievements or approval. It's the natural state you return to once you stop believing the lies. Every time you choose yourself, you realign with the rhythm of life itself. And from that place, miracles begin. Health improves, relationships harmonize, opportunities appear. Because love is the highest frequency, and when you vibrate at love, everything not matching it gently falls away. You become magnetic to peace, to abundance, to joy. If you ever forget, come back to this simple truth. You are the only person you will live with for the rest of your life. Make that relationship tender, forgiving, sacred. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you adore. You deserve that devotion. So breathe deeply now. Let the tension melt from your shoulders. Whisper, I love you, I forgive you, I am here for you. Feel the stillness that follows. That stillness is you meeting yourself at last. From this moment forward, make yourself your safest home. Nurture your mind with kindness, your body with care, your spirit with patience. The glow you seek does not come from doing more. It comes from being gentler with yourself than ever before. Love yourself until you feel unstoppable, because once you do, life will rise to meet you with the same unstoppable love. There came a day when I realized that I had spent my life loving others so deeply that I had forgotten to love myself. I was kind, attentive, nurturing, yet only outwardly. Inside, I was running on emptiness. I had mistaken exhaustion for devotion. I had confused self-neglect with selflessness. The truth was simple and painful. I had been pouring from a cup I never refilled. I thought being good meant giving endlessly. I said yes when I wanted to say no. I smiled when my heart ached. I gave understanding to everyone but myself. I had built my worth upon how useful I could be. And though others called me kind, I felt invisible. No one saw how tired I was of proving my right to love and be loved. One evening I stood before the mirror and could not recognize the woman staring back. Her eyes were weary. Her shoulders drooped under invisible weights. I asked quietly, "What do you need from me?" For the first time, I realized that love must begin here, with this person looking back at me. It was not selfish, it was salvation. Many of us are taught that seeking approval is the way to belong. As children, we learn to earn smiles and affection by pleasing others. We carry that pattern into adulthood, chasing praise like sunlight through the clouds. Yet deep inside, a small child waits still yearning for our own voice to say the words we once needed. I love you, you are safe, you are enough. When I began this inner work, I discovered that love does not have to be deserved. It is not payment for perfection. It is the natural state of our being. Life itself breathed love into us when it gave us form. The birds are not required to sing a perfect melody before the sun rises on them. The flowers are not required to bloom flawlessly before they are kissed by light. Neither are we. I started practicing this truth every morning. Instead of asking, "What must I fix?" I began asking, "What can I bless?" That single shift changed everything. Blessing opens the heart, fixing tightens it. The moment we bless ourselves, we align with the wisdom of life that already loves us completely. Self-criticism had been my constant companion. I thought it kept me improving, but it only kept me imprisoned. The mind that criticizes cannot create joy. It builds walls around the heart and calls them standards. Yet each unkind thought becomes an instruction to the body and spirit. Contract, hide, withhold. And so I lived smaller than I was born to be. I had to learn that every thought is a seed. If I planted criticism, I reaped pain. If I planted love, I reaped peace. Every word I spoke about myself shaped my body, my health, my future. When I told myself I am not good enough, life simply agreed and mirrored that belief. When I began saying I am worthy now, life nodded again and opened. I remember the day I decided to test this truth. I stood before the mirror, placed a trembling hand over my heart, and whispered, "I approve of myself." My voice cracked. The words felt foreign, even foolish. But something inside stirred a tiny warmth, a pulse of recognition. I said it again and again until tears came. Those tears were not sorrow, they were release. Approval became my medicine. It softened my heart more gently than any remedy. Every time I said, "I approve of myself," I was giving my body permission to relax, to trust me, to heal. The aches that had lingered began to ease. My breath deepened. My posture changed. Love was flowing where judgment had been dammed for years. I invite you to try this now. Place your hand over your heart and say softly, "I approve of myself." You may not believe it yet. That does not matter. Truth begins as repetition until it becomes remembrance. Say it again, "I am lovable now." Feel how the words begin to calm the noise in your mind. Your body listens to your voice more closely than you ever have. Love does not wait for you to be thinner, calmer, or more successful. It begins when you are honest enough to be present. When you say, "I am here with myself, as I am," you are making the most powerful declaration of faith that exists. Presence is love's first language. I used to believe love meant perfection, but perfection is a mask that hides fear. Love has no interest in masks. It longs to touch truth. Every freckle, every scar, every quirk is evidence of your living. Life sculpted you with infinite care. There is nothing in you that is unworthy of love because love created you. Each morning now, I meet myself in the mirror, not to inspect, but to recognize. I say, "Good morning, dear, how are you?" Sometimes I laugh, sometimes I cry. But every time I do this, I build a bridge between the self I show the world and the self that lives within. The bridge is called kindness. The more I practiced, the more I noticed how my thoughts shaped not only my emotions, but the circumstances of my life. When I was harsh inside, people around me seemed harsh. When I softened, the world softened too. Life is always listening, echoing the tone we use when we speak to ourselves. So I began to treat myself as I would a beloved friend. I stopped rushing to fix and started listening instead. I stopped apologizing for existing and began thanking life for the chance to breathe, to feel, to grow. Gratitude became my doorway to grace. Love, I realized, is not an achievement. It is remembrance. It is remembering that we were born whole, and nothing that happened since has changed that truth. The bruises of the past may have dimmed our memory, but beneath them, love has remained untouched, patiently waiting for our return. To those who fear that self-love is arrogance, I say this: arrogance is born of comparison. Love is born of reverence. When you truly love yourself, you no longer need to feel above or below anyone. You simply stand in peace, aware that all are expressions of the same divine life. So now, as we close this first part of our journey, I invite you once more, breathe deeply and whisper, "I approve of myself. I am lovable now." Let the words move through you like sunlight through water. Feel the warmth, the stillness, the quiet relief. You are not learning to love yourself. You are remembering that you always did. You simply forgot. And now, with each breath, each kind thought, you are coming home. When I first began to practice what I would later call mirror work, I could hardly meet my own eyes. I would look away, glance down, rearrange my hair, anything but hold that steady gaze. I had faced audiences, illness, loss, and fear, yet the hardest thing I had ever done was to stand before a mirror and say, "I love you." Most of us use the mirror to search for flaws. We count wrinkles, weigh regrets, inspect imperfections. The mirror becomes an instrument of criticism instead of recognition. But when you turn it into a sacred space of love, it becomes a portal. The same glass that once reflected judgment begins to reflect truth. I remember one morning when I forced myself to keep looking, my eyes filled with tears, not because of what I saw, but because I realized how long I had ignored that woman. She had been waiting for me, waiting for gentleness, waiting for approval, waiting for me to finally see her as life itself sees her, beautiful, brave, and enough. In that moment, I began speaking softly. I said, "You've done your best. I'm proud of you." The words felt strange at first, like trying to speak a new language. But with every repetition, the tightness around my heart loosened. The mirror was not judging me. I was judging myself. When I stopped, it simply reflected love. I often tell people that their reflection is not an enemy but a messenger. It shows you where love is still needed. When you can look into your own eyes without turning away, you are beginning to forgive yourself. And forgiveness is the highest form of love. There were many who came to my workshops trembling at the idea of looking in the mirror. One woman told me she had not done so in 20 years. When she finally did, she began to cry. She said, "I've never seen myself with kindness before. Those tears were not weakness. They were the body releasing years of withheld love." Another student told me she could say kind words to everyone except herself. She had cared for children, friends, neighbors, but had never whispered a single word of affection toward her own heart. When she finally said, "I love you," to her reflection, she said it felt like coming home. That is what mirror work truly is, coming home. It is the reunion of the self with the soul. At first it may feel uncomfortable. The ego resists, afraid that love will expose all its illusions. But love exposes only truth, and truth heals everything it touches. If you are ready, I invite you to try. Go to your mirror, stand quietly, and breathe. Look softly into your eyes, not at your features, but into the being that lives behind them. Whisper, "I am willing to love you." You may not yet know how. You may not even feel it. That's all right. Willingness opens the door. Love will walk through it. Willingness is the smallest step with the greatest power. It does not demand perfection. It asks only sincerity. When you say, "I am willing," you are aligning with the healing current of life. You are giving the universe permission to move through you, to replace hardness with grace. I learned that the body responds instantly to acceptance. When I looked into the mirror with criticism, my shoulders tensed, my jaw tightened, and my breath shortened. When I looked with kindness, my breath deepened, my skin softened, and warmth spread through me. Love is the body's natural medicine. It restores what fear constricts. Many carry old wounds in their faces, lines of worry, eyes dimmed by guilt, lips that have forgotten how to smile freely. These are not signs of failure. They are reminders of survival. When you bless your reflection instead of condemning it, those features begin to soften. The body knows when it is finally safe to relax. The heart, too, holds memory. When we approve of ourselves, the heart expands. When we disapprove, it contracts. Every affirmation of love is a gentle opening. Each repetition of "I am lovable now" tells the heart, "You may trust me again." Over time, the body learns that love from within is constant and unconditional. I have seen people's faces transform through this practice, not through vanity, but through vitality. Their eyes brighten, their posture lifts, their voices change. What you witness is the physical expression of inner permission. The glow that appears is not makeup or miracle. It is the body's gratitude for being finally cherished. Mirror work also reveals the places where forgiveness is still needed. Sometimes, as you gaze into your own eyes, memories surface, moments when you felt ashamed, words you wish you hadn't spoken, choices you regret. When this happens, do not turn away. Say softly, "I forgive you." Forgiveness is not saying It didn't matter. It is saying, I will no longer use it to punish myself. You cannot heal while holding yourself hostage. The past is over. It has no power except what you lend it through thought. When you forgive, you withdraw that power and return it to the present moment, where peace lives. I had to learn this myself. There were times I looked into the mirror and could still hear the voice of the frightened child I once was, begging for approval. I forgave her for believing she had to earn love. I forgave the adults who did not know how to show it. I forgave the woman who spent years being her own harshest critic. Each act of forgiveness lightened my reflection until I could finally smile again. The mirror became my altar. Each morning I would greet myself there and offer a simple blessing. Today I choose to see you with love. I did not need candles or incense. My breath was enough. The sincerity of my intention turned the ordinary act of looking into a sacred ritual. I began to notice how the body blossomed under kind attention. My shoulders straightened, my complexion changed, even my digestion improved. The more I loved myself, the more energy returned to me. The body thrives on appreciation. It listens to every word we speak. When we say, I am proud of you, it sighs in relief. I encourage you to practice daily, even for 1 minute. The mirror waits patiently. It does not judge the days you forget. Each time you return, it meets you exactly where you are. And one day, without effort, you will look into your eyes and feel love rise naturally. That is when you know the old walls have fallen. It is not the mirror that changes, it is you. You are learning to recognize your reflection as divine creation. The same life that paints sunsets sculpted your face. The same intelligence that forms galaxies formed your smile. When you see that truth, the boundary between the human and the holy dissolves. For many, this realization brings tears. Do not be afraid of them. Tears are not weakness. They are rivers of renewal. They wash away the dust of years spent believing you were unworthy. Let them flow. Each one carries away another layer of pain until only peace remains. When the tears stop, breathe and place your hand on your heart. Smile softly, even if it feels forced. The body does not distinguish between a real smile and a practiced one. It only knows the language of openness. That small movement tells the heart, you may open wider now. Now whisper this affirmation aloud. I am safe to love myself now. Repeat it slowly until the words feel warm on your tongue. Feel the body respond, a lightness in the chest, a softening in the belly, a peace in the breath. That is energy shifting. That is love returning home. The mirror will soon become your friend. You will begin to greet it with anticipation instead of avoidance. You will dress, speak, and move differently because the person before you is no longer your enemy. You will see strength in your eyes, grace in your gestures, gentleness in your smile. Over time, you will realize that the mirror is not a piece of glass at all. It is a bridge. It connects the self you show the world with the soul that has always loved you. Every moment spent there is a reunion, a silent prayer answered. And when you meet your reflection tomorrow morning, remember this: you are not looking at a face to correct. You are looking at a miracle to celebrate. You are seeing the evidence of life's faith in you. So end this practice each day with gratitude. Say thank you to your reflection, not for perfection, but for presence. Thank it for staying with you through every change, for forgiving your neglect, for never leaving your side. The more you thank yourself, the more your heart opens to new joy. Love begins to circulate through every cell, reminding your body that it is no longer alone. The mind quiets, the spirit steadies, and a subtle glow begins to radiate outward. When you see that glow in the mirror, soft, warm, unmistakable, know that it is not a trick of light. It is your true self shining through, unafraid, unhidden. That is the reward of mirror work. Not vanity, but visibility. Not pride, but peace. You have always been worthy of your own love. The mirror is simply where you finally remember. So as we close this part of our journey, look once more into your reflection. Smile, even if your lips tremble. Say quietly, I love you, I forgive you, I am safe to love myself now. And as the words ripple through your being, feel the walls within begin to crumble. Behind them lies freedom, the freedom of a heart that has at last turned homeward. There was a time when my mind was a courtroom, and I was both judge and prisoner. From morning until night, I weighed every word I spoke, every choice I made, and found myself guilty of not being enough. I believed that if I criticized myself harshly, I could mold myself into perfection. But judgment never healed me. It only carved deeper wounds. We learn early to measure our worth by what we accomplish, by how we appear, by how others respond. And when those measures fail, we turn inward and punish the self that could never keep up. The voice of judgment disguises itself as discipline, but it is nothing more than fear wearing the mask of improvement. For years, I carried that voice like a shadow. It whispered, "You should have done better," when I was tired. It murmured, "You are falling behind," when I was simply resting. It convinced me that self-love would make me complacent, but the truth is, love does not weaken, it fortifies. Judgment breaks us down, compassion builds us back up. The first step toward freedom was realizing that judgment is not truth. It is habit. It is the echo of old conditioning that believes love must be earned. The mind repeats what it has heard for years until the heart becomes weary of fighting it. But every habit can be replaced. Every unkind thought can be rewritten with tenderness. When I began to practice compassion, I treated each thought as a child at my doorstep. The harsh ones I greeted gently. I know you are afraid, but we don't speak that way anymore. The kind ones I welcomed in fully. In time, the gentle voices grew louder, and the old critic grew tired of being ignored. I once stood before the mirror and scolded my body for aging. I saw wrinkles as failures, softness as shame, scars as reminders of imperfection. But one day, I touched my cheek and thought, this face has smiled through storms. These lines are love's handwriting. My body had never betrayed me. I had betrayed it with my contempt. I began thanking my body for every service it performed without complaint, for breathing while I slept, for carrying me through each day, for healing cuts and heartbreaks alike. I realized it had been listening to every word I spoke. When I said, "I'm so tired," it obeyed. When I said, "I am strong," it responded with vitality. Every thought is an instruction to the body. Judgment tells it to shrink, to guard, to tense. Compassion tells it to expand, to breathe, to flourish. You do not need to understand biology to understand love's effect. A kind word relaxes the muscles faster than medicine, and forgiveness restores energy more surely than sleep. When I teach this, people often ask, "But how can I be gentle when I've made mistakes?" And I tell them, the same way life is gentle with you. The sun does not withhold its light because a flower wilted yesterday. The river does not punish a rock for blocking its path. It flows around it and continues on. You are that river. You can always begin again. There is such freedom in replacing "I should have" with "I did my best with what I knew." The past cannot be relived, but it can be reinterpreted. Every choice was the best you could make with the awareness you had at that moment. When awareness grows, behavior changes naturally, without guilt, without force. I remember an evening when regret visited me again. I sat quietly and said, "Yes, I remember that moment. I forgive myself." The voice of judgment tried to protest, to drag me back into shame, but I kept repeating, "I forgive myself." Eventually silence came. In that silence I felt peace, gentle, steady, unconditional peace. Small acts of compassion became my daily devotion. I let myself rest without apology. I spoke kindly to myself after small mistakes. I stopped comparing my path to another's. These were not grand gestures, but each one loosened the chains around my heart. Compassion does not arrive all at once. It seeps in through small acts of grace. I learned that compassion is not indulgence. It is responsibility to the soul. It is recognizing that cruelty, even toward oneself, serves no one. When we treat ourselves with gentleness, we restore harmony to the entire fabric of life. Our peace becomes a quiet blessing that touches everyone we meet. Sometimes I place my hand on my heart and whisper, I am patient with myself. At first it felt awkward, as if patience were a luxury I had not earned, but slowly I realized it was necessity, not indulgence. The soul grows like a flower, not through demand, but through care. When old habits of judgment return, I no longer argue with them. I meet them as I would a frightened child. Come here, I say inwardly. Sit beside me. The moment I stop resisting the critic and start comforting it, it loses its power. No one can shout over love. Our culture often praises toughness, but gentleness is its own quiet revolution. To say, I will be kind to myself today, is an act of courage. To rest when others rush is rebellion against fear. To forgive yourself is to declare that your soul's peace matters more than your ego's perfection. Each time I soften toward myself, the world softens too. I have watched anger dissolve simply because I refused to meet it with more anger. I have seen confusion clear when met with understanding. Compassion multiplies. It never stops at the boundary of one heart. There is great wisdom in simplicity. A gentle thought repeated can undo years of harsh ones. A kind sentence spoken to yourself each morning can reshape your entire life. The mind learns through repetition. The heart learns through consistency. Say the words until they feel natural. I am learning to love myself. Sometimes you may falter. The old voice of judgment may rise again, loud and familiar. Do not be discouraged. Growth does not erase the past overnight, it transforms it. Every time you choose compassion instead of criticism, you are rewriting the pattern of your life. At night, I bless the day. Even if it wasn't perfect, I say I did my best, and that is enough. I have discovered that enough is a holy word. When you call yourself enough, you align with the truth of creation. Life made you as a complete expression of love. There is nothing missing, nothing broken, only unfolding. Let us practice together now. Breathe in slowly. As you exhale, release the words, I should have. Replace them with, I did my best. Feel how the body relaxes instantly. Feel how peace replaces pressure. This is compassion taking root. Each time you repeat these truths, you invite the divine to work through you. The divine does not speak in reprimands, it speaks in reassurance. It says you are loved, you are learning, you are growing. When you quiet the mind enough to hear it, you realize that life has been kind all along. Grace, I have learned, is compassion in motion. It moves through time to heal what the past could not. It enters every thought that once condemned you and turns it into an opportunity to love. Grace is the hand of life reaching through your mistakes, gently guiding you home. I believe that divine love has always been patient with us, waiting for us to join it. It never hurries, never forces, never withdraws. It stands quietly within, like a candle that cannot go out, even in the fiercest wind. When we finally stop judging ourselves, we notice that light and realize it was there all along. You are that light. You are not your mistakes, your fatigue, your unmet expectations. You are the love that persists beneath them. And as you learn to treat yourself with tenderness, you become the very presence that heals others without trying. So now, As we complete this reflection, take a gentle breath. Place your hand on your heart once more. Say softly, I am patient with myself. I give myself permission to heal. Let those words settle. Feel their truth ripple through you. They are not promises, they are facts. Compassion is not a future goal, it is your natural state rediscovered. And as you move forward, remember, there is no punishment in the heart of life, only correction through love. You are being guided not by judgment, but by grace. There was a time when I believed love had to come from outside me. I chased it the way a flower might chase the sun, bending, stretching, contorting myself to catch even a little warmth. I thought if I could just be good enough, quiet enough, pleasing enough, someone would finally see me and give me the love I could not give myself. But love that must be chased is never real nourishment. It is like trying to live on borrowed breath. You inhale and feel full for a moment, but soon the emptiness returns. I realized that no one could ever give me enough to fill a well I kept draining with my own disbelief. The only lasting source had to be within. So I began the gentle work of turning inward. I asked myself, what if I could be the love I've been searching for? At first the idea frightened me. It felt too large, too unfamiliar. I had always defined myself by what others reflected back. But slowly, I saw that I could not build a stable house on the shifting sands of others' approval. I had spent years offering love like a gift I was never meant to keep. I gave it freely, but refused to let it circle back toward me. When it did, I felt unworthy, embarrassed, resistant. I understand now that love is a circle. It cannot complete itself until it moves through you and returns to its source. When I began to approve of myself, something remarkable happened. Life began to echo that approval. People treated me as I treated myself. Opportunities came with more ease. Struggle softened into flow. Life has no choice but to mirror your dominant belief. When you say, I am enough, the universe bows in agreement. It took time to learn that self-love is not vanity, it is spiritual responsibility. It is the acknowledgement that the same intelligence that made the stars lives within you. When you honor yourself, you honor that intelligence. To neglect yourself is to insult the divine. To cherish yourself is to participate in creation. There was a moment when I stood again before the mirror and said, I love you and I will never abandon you again. Those words felt like vows. From that moment, I stopped negotiating my worth. I no longer begged for permission to rest, to shine, to say no. I became the guardian of my own peace. When you focus on yourself, you are not withdrawing from love, you are refining it. You are learning to give from overflow, not depletion. You cannot pour healing into the world if your own vessel is dry. When you fill your own cup, others drink from your abundance instead of your exhaustion. I remember a woman in one of my workshops who said, I'm afraid that if I love myself too much, I'll become selfish. I smiled and told her, when you truly love yourself, selfishness disappears. The self you are loving expands beyond you. You start seeing that everyone is included in that love. You see, self-love and selfishness are opposites. Selfishness comes from fear of not having enough. Self-love comes from knowing you are enough. One hoards, the other overflows. When you truly approve of yourself, you no longer need to compete, compare, or control. You simply radiate peace, and peace draws good to it. I invite you to look at your relationships through this lens. How many times have you asked others to give you what you refuse to give yourself? Approval, patience, forgiveness. Every conflict is a mirror asking, can you offer to yourself what you demand from me? When you begin to do so, harmony follows. I learned this deeply when I stopped trying to prove my worth through work. For years, I believed productivity equaled value. I filled every hour, every day, and still went to bed feeling behind. But once I began to honor my need for rest, life arranged itself with grace. Work became more meaningful because it was no longer a plea for validation, it was an expression of joy. Self-love changes the quality of everything you do. When you cook, the food nourishes more deeply. When you speak, your words carry comfort. When you simply walk through a room, others feel at ease. Love does not need to announce itself. It glows quietly through every action. As this love deepened, I discovered the quiet strength of boundaries. I had believed that saying yes was the loving thing, that agreeing was harmony. But constant agreement is not harmony, it is silence born of fear. Boundaries are not walls. They are gates that protect the garden of your spirit. They let love in and keep depletion out. When you say no, thank you, to what drains you, you are saying yes, please, to what renews you. The moment you honor your limits, life begins to expand. True peace is born not from pleasing everyone, but from being at peace with yourself. There is such beauty in learning to listen to your inner voice. The mind may say, keep going, but the body whispers, rest. The ego says, prove yourself, but the soul says, you already are. When you begin to trust the quiet voice within, you align with divine timing. Everything unfolds without strain. In mirror work, I began adding new affirmations to reflect this truth. I would look into my eyes and say, I am my own safe place. I am loved because I exist. Each repetition dissolved another layer of fear. The more I said it, the more I believed it. The more I believed it, the more life confirmed it. Self-love is not about convincing yourself of false perfection. It is about remembering divine design. You were created whole. Every mistake, every flaw, every scar belongs to your evolution. To love yourself is to love the artistry of life itself. The artist does not apologize for each brushstroke, neither should you. As this truth settles, guilt begins to dissolve. Guilt thrives in the absence of self-approval. It whispers, you have taken too much. But when you realize that love is infinite, guilt loses its grip. You cannot steal from a well that never runs dry. Life rejoices each time you receive, because your receiving proves its generosity. I have seen so many people step into their radiance the moment they release guilt. Their laughter becomes freer, their posture stronger, they stop apologizing for their existence, and what happens next is beautiful. Their presence blesses others without effort. A person at peace invites peace in everyone they meet. When you embody self-love, the need to seek diminishes. You stop chasing validation, success, or attention. You begin to understand that all outer forms are reflections of inner abundance. You create not to prove yourself, but to express joy. You love not to receive love, but because you are love. I sometimes describe this shift as becoming the sun instead of the candle. The candle gives light conditionally and fears burning out. The sun gives endlessly, knowing it can never be diminished. When you become your own source, you radiate love without depletion. You shine because shining is your nature. Every boundary, every act of self-respect, every gentle word to yourself is a beam of that sun. They say to the world, I honor the divine in me. And the world, sensing that divine strength, begins to respond with reverence. Even challenges soften in the presence of someone who refuses to abandon their own heart. One evening, I looked at my reflection and realized how quiet my inner world had become. The old craving for approval had faded. The constant reaching outward was gone. I felt full, peacefully, silently full. That fullness was not pride, it was alignment. I had finally become the source instead of the seeker. You, too, can reach this place. Begin with one act of self-honor each day. Say no when you mean no. Rest when you are weary. Speak to yourself kindly. Praise your smallest effort. Every act of respect tells the universe, I am ready to live from abundance, not lack. and abundance rushes to meet you. The divine does not reward self-sacrifice. It celebrates self-realization. When you love yourself deeply, you become a clear channel through which divine energy flows into the world. Others will feel this, though they may not name it. They will say you have a glow, a calmness, a presence. That glow is love recognizing itself. I want you to picture now a version of yourself, radiant with peace, shoulders relaxed, heart open, eyes bright with calm confidence. That is who you truly are. That is who you have always been beneath fear's disguise. The light within you does not need to be built, it needs only to be unveiled. Each time you choose to honor yourself, that veil lifts a little more. Soon, you will notice that the world seems different, softer, kinder. But it is not the world that changed, it is your gaze. When the eyes of love look outward, they see only love reflected back. And so, I close this section with a vision. You standing in the light of your own approval, glowing not because anyone crowned you worthy, but because you finally remembered that you always were. Say softly with me now, I am loved because I exist. I am my own safe place. I am enough. Feel the resonance of those words ripple through you. They are not wishes, they are truths. When you believe them, the search ends and love begins to live as you. There comes a quiet morning in every healing journey when you no longer wake up searching. You simply wake up being. The sun feels different on your skin, not because it changed, but because you did. You have stopped waiting for permission to feel good. You have chosen to belong to yourself. That is where radiance begins. I remember such a morning clearly. I looked into the mirror, expecting the familiar list of improvements to chase, but none came. Instead, I saw peace and ease that needed no defense, no justification. I smiled without effort, and in that simple moment, I knew I had crossed the threshold from trying to love myself to truly loving myself. When self-love becomes natural, everything softens, laughter comes easier. Silence feels welcoming, not lonely. You start to notice beauty in ordinary things, the curve of your hand, the way light rests on your face, the rhythm of your own breath. Life reveals itself as a reflection of your inner gentleness. Joy, I have learned, is not a reward for perfection. It is the evidence of alignment. When we return to love, joy becomes our natural fragrance. We do not need to chase it. It arises like morning dew upon the grass. Joy is the soul's way of saying, I am home. Self-approval changes the way the body moves through the world. Your steps grow lighter, your shoulders fall back into ease. Your breath deepens, you begin to occupy space differently, not with arrogance, but with calm confidence. The world around you responds to that energy. Doors open, hearts open, and even time seems to move more kindly. For years, I believed that striving would make me strong. I believed that constant effort was proof of value. But when I stopped struggling, I found a strength far greater than willpower, the strength of peace. Peace is not stillness without motion. It is movement without fear. When you live in self-approval, you no longer rush. You move with grace. You speak slowly, aware that your words carry power. You give freely without the tremor of depletion. You rest without guilt. You no longer chase outcomes. You allow them, and in that allowing, miracles appear. I have seen health restored, relationships mended, and careers renewed through nothing more than the quiet act of self-acceptance. The moment you stop fighting yourself, energy that was spent on resistance becomes available for healing. Every cell in your body rejoices when it is no longer defending against your own criticism. I often lead people into a simple meditation. Sit comfortably, place both hands over your heart, breathe slowly, and repeat, I am lovable, I am whole, I am at peace. Say it again until the words begin to feel like your own. You are not programming the mind, you are reminding the heart. The body remembers truth the moment you speak it kindly. As you breathe, notice how your chest expands. The body sighs in relief when it hears affirmation. Each breath of approval is a blessing sent inward, a signal to the cells that it is safe to thrive. Self-love is not abstract, it is physiological. The body glows when it is loved. We spend so much of life believing healing must be difficult, but the soul heals in gentleness, not struggle. The moment you release judgment, the divine rushes in. Love is the natural state beneath every wound. It does not have to be earned. It only needs to be remembered. Miracles, I have learned, are not events that violate nature. They are moments when we align with it. When you are peaceful, solutions arise without struggle. When you are kind to yourself, the right people appear. When you are honest, the right opportunities open. Love arranges everything with a wisdom the intellect could never design. Each time you choose peace over pressure, you rewrite your destiny. You no longer act out of desperation, but inspiration. You no longer push through pain, you move with trust. And the more you trust, the more life rushes to meet your faith with grace. When you glow with self-love, people may ask what changed. They will look for new habits, new diets, new circumstances, but your secret will be simple. You stopped abandoning yourself. The radiance they see is not decoration, it is revelation. It is what happens when the inner sun is no longer hidden by clouds of self-doubt. I tell people often, your glow is your prayer made visible. Every approving thought is a silent thank you to life. Every moment of gentleness is a hymn to creation. When you love yourself, you become a living affirmation that peace is possible. As this love deepens, you find that your relationships transform effortlessly. You no longer need to convince others to see your worth. Because you see it, you no longer fear rejection, because your acceptance of yourself is complete. The love you once begged for begins to circle back, multiplied and pure. You start living not as a seeker of affection, but as a giver of light. Every gesture, every word becomes an offering. When you smile, it is not performance, it is prayer. When you listen, it is not duty, it is devotion. You have become love in motion, and that is the highest purpose any soul can fulfill. In this space of self-approval, guilt becomes impossible. You no longer measure yourself by comparison, for you understand that all are expressions of the same divine life. You can admire another's beauty without diminishing your own. You can celebrate another's success without fear of scarcity. Love knows no competition. I once believed that joy was fragile, easily stolen by circumstance. Now I see that true joy cannot be touched because it does not depend on conditions. It lives in the heart that has learned to bless every moment, sunshine or storm, with gratitude. When you love yourself, gratitude becomes your natural language. I often say that gratitude is the bridge between love and abundance. The more you thank life, the more life gives you to thank for. Gratitude turns ordinary moments into miracles. It transforms loneliness into solitude, chaos into rhythm, and duty into joy. If you wish to glow, begin here. Each morning before you rise, place your hand upon your heart and whisper, "Good morning, I love you." At first it may feel strange. You might laugh or cry or doubt, but say it anyway. The universe listens not to doubt, but to devotion. Say it until the words feel like breathing. Some mornings you will feel radiant, others you will not. On those harder days, remember that love does not depend on feeling, it depends on choice. Choosing to love yourself when you least feel lovable is the truest form of devotion. It is the moment the divine within you takes over. With time, you will notice that the spaces you once filled with worry are now filled with quiet. The old urgency to be more will fade, replaced by curiosity about what is already here. You will realize that peace was not something to find, but something to remember. There will still be challenges, of course, but you will meet them differently. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" you will ask, How is this helping me grow? The difference between fear and faith is not circumstance, it is perception. The one who loves herself sees lessons where others see losses. You will begin to notice how your presence changes rooms. People will feel calmer around you without knowing why. That is what happens when you live in harmony with yourself. The vibration of peace radiates outward. It teaches without words. It comforts without effort. I bless everyone I meet with the silent thought, may you know how loved you are. I do not need them to change. I only need to hold that vision. Because when I see love in another, I affirm it in myself. The radiance of self-approval is contagious. It reminds others of their own forgotten light. The glow you carry is not meant to be hidden. It is the world's medicine. When you shine, you give others permission to do the same. This is how healing spreads, not through instruction, but through example. A peaceful person does more for the world than 1,000 who preach without peace. I sometimes imagine humanity as a great garden, each of us a flower of unique color and fragrance. Some bloom early, some late. Some rise tall, some stay close to the earth. But all belong, all contribute to the beauty of the whole. Self-approval is the sunlight that helps each of us unfold fully. To love yourself is to allow life to express itself through you unhindered. You become a channel for the divine. Every smile, every act of kindness, every moment of calm becomes a prayer made flesh. When you approve of yourself, you open the floodgates of creation. So now let us close with a practice of radiance. Breathe deeply. Feel the air move through you as love itself. Say softly, my life glows with love. I am a magnet for harmony. I shine effortlessly. Repeat these words until you can feel them vibrating in your heart. Notice the stillness that follows. That stillness is not emptiness, it is fullness. It is peace becoming power. The quiet confidence that says, whatever happens, I am whole. That is the state of true mastery. You no longer need to chase light, because you have become it. Let your life now be a gentle offering of this love. In every choice, let approval guide you. In every word, let kindness lead you. And in every silence, let peace rest softly. This is how the unstoppable glow is born, not through effort, but through surrender to love's rhythm. I bless you now, dear one. May self-love become your constant companion. May peace be your language and joy your natural state. May you remember in every moment of doubt that you are the light you've been searching for. Love yourself until you feel unstoppable, because when you do, life itself will rise to meet you with unstoppable love.